Demian Farnworth, are you ready to fearlessly question?
Yes, sir.
And we're starting the show off on a very ominous note. I don't know if that's going to how things are going to go from here on out, but I do owe you about 50 minutes of your life back. I'm not sure if Amazon sells that, but I will try and get it shipped to your house free 2-day shipping.
Great.
Um,
Thank you.
Damien, I'm going to start the show off this way, and I've been thinking about this since we scheduled this thing, and I don't know if this is going to be an insult or not. If it is an insult, I apologize. Um, has anybody ever told you that you look like the dude from Nickelback, Chad Kroger?
That's no insult, but I don't think so, man. Not Nickelback. I've heard some guys from Switchfoot, and there's some other bands. David Guetta, I think too. I've heard, but never Nickelback. So no insult. But
Well, I would consider it an insult. That's why. So if
oh, is
somebody
that
told
why?
me that I
So
was
why is
even
that?
remotely associated with Nickelback, I would say you're getting punched in the face.
Okay, no.
Um, no,
Fortunately,
but
I'm a cultural idiot, so I'm not sure about the reference.
all right. And the only other thing is how many times have you had to punch somebody in the face yourself for somebody putting an S in your last name? How often does that happen?
That happens pretty frequently, but no, I'm not a violent guy. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
You just give them a little, like, a very happy-go-lucky, like,
I
hug. Oh,
used to,
thank you
yeah.
for, thank you.
Right. Yeah. No, it's normally just no S in the last name.
For,
It's the first name that I get so much grief about the first name that an S in the last name is hardly worth the effort to point out.
what kind of grief do you get, I guess?
So, for example, like telemarketers when that was a thing a couple of years ago, they would call and they say, "Can I speak to Dominion or Deminia?" And this is a true story too. So I had a great grandmother who used to call me, and when I was a little boy, growing up, she used to call me Demon, and I would be like, "No, it's actually Damien," and she's like, "Okay, Demon." I'm like, so either she was teasing me or she couldn't hear, but either way. So
You don't really know for sure what it was?
no, I don't. She
Was
was,
she,
yeah, it was this demon. So I was like, okay. Well, it's probably she was just compressing the first part of a demon, so it was, and just got lazy at the end. And anyway, it's an A pronunciation, not a D-E-E.
she might have just been really good at staying in character. You don't
That's
know.
right. Yeah, she was a good gal. I miss her.
All right, well, we'll get a little bit serious here. Why don't we catch everybody up a little bit? Tell us your story as it relates to fearlessly questioning being crazy.
All right. So, yeah. So, being crazy, I guess, and so let's define that, right? And I guess part of that is just being wily and mischievous, and feeling that I've always not wanted to, like, one of my biggest fears is the fear of, like, finding myself in the middle of the pack and going the same direction as everyone else. And it's just, I guess it's more of really an instinct than it is a fear that, like, when I notice that, I'm like, I have to get out of this space and go a different direction. And so, which is, interesting for someone who, as an introvert, someone who prefers solitude and everything like that. But at the same time, being as a writer, my job is public and visible, and so at some part I have to differentiate myself from other people, and so I guess that comes off as just being a maverick and a misfit, and I'm okay with that, and I'm very okay with that.
Well, that's good, and I think that's what kind of drew me to you in a very platonic bromance, if you will,
Sure.
that maverickness, if you will. And
The new
so I
clone
guess,
I got coming out too, so man.
um, yes, that happens often on this show. So you basically say that you are comfortable being uncomfortable and running away from the herd then.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
So I guess the first fearless question that I have for you, and we'll just kind of like a band-aid right off, why are we, when I say we, everybody, and you can kind of put your own thoughts in this, but why are we afraid to be crazy?
Well, because yeah, I think that the reason is that we fear rejection. We fear not belonging. Kind of. I mean, we form these relationships and we want people. We want to please people and we want people to like us. And so I think when we think of we do something that's out of the ordinary, that might get the slap on the wrist, or someone might think differently about us and think, well, that's just, weird and whatever, I think, so it's safe to be, it's safe to kind of, and I'm not saying that that there's anything wrong with that, because, for my personality, I'm just not comfortable. I don't enjoy that, and it's no fun. But, there are people who are that way. But, if you feel like you need to go out, it's tough to do that, because then you're in the spotlight. And this is the other thing, too, is like, growing up, I always wanted to be the center of attention, and I just craved that attention. But once I got it, I would like freeze and didn't know what to do with it. And eventually, I had to sort of figure out what was that all about, and how do I make a living, and how do I live in this life where I want that sort of spotlight moment, but I don't want to be like performing live like an actor or a TV news anchor or something like that. And so that's why writing became a very attractive platform to do that, because I could, still create things, get attention, and then, the criticism was directed at that, and then you just learn that, okay, that criticism that's coming out, that's not, personally coming at me, it's coming at that, and then you can say, okay, well, that's fine, whatever, and so there's a buffer and a distance between you, which, as an individual and as a personality, I need. So. I mean, the reason, back to answer your question, I think, is the fact that people are just, it is sort of gut-wrenching to think, if I do something to get that attention, what are the consequences, and will people think less of me? Will people not want me on their team? Will they not want me, as their friend? That sort of thing. Will people, negative criticism, negative attention.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing. I mean, I guess I would say, tell me if you agree with this. Do you think some people are just instinctively born with that repellent of negative criticism, or don't really pay much attention to it than others? It feels like certain people are more attuned to it than others.
Yeah, I certainly think more people are sensitive to it. I know I'm probably more sensitive to than, more. I don't know if there's an average, but yeah, there's some people who, you talk about having a thick skin, like real estate agents, for example. Good real estate agents, can take no's all day long and not have it affect them. I could never do that. It just sort of wear on my sort of personality, where I get to the point, okay, this is just too much. And I think it comes back, so yeah, in some sense, you do. Some people are more sensitive than others. Some people are just, kind of have more of that confidence and that thick skin, and it's something too that you can develop, and it's something you can train your mind and your emotions to react to, and realize, okay, when somebody rejects me, it's not, that's their problem, not my problem.
And part of it, I mean, we're kind of taking, like you said, defining crazy is a little bit of a daunting task. But so the other angle that I was interested in kind of taking this whole crazy approach is it's a play off of your passion, and allowing that to kind of be displayed, put on center stage, and let somebody know exactly how crazy or intense you are about something. And I think I noticed that quite a bit with you. And that's kind of my question to you is that intensity, why is that lacking or missing? Is it just because people haven't found it, or because they're afraid to show it?
That's a good question, and to be honest, it's like when you approached me about doing the show, and I thought about being crazy, and I was like, I never really thought about myself being crazy, but again, I'm all for that, and to someone to see that, because you're from the outside looking in, and this is your perception, and I'm like, well, that's got to be really interesting that someone would walk away with that, and so what was your question again? I'm sorry. I totally got sidetracked there.
The question was, is it the fact that people haven't found what they're crazy about, or are they just afraid to show it?
Yeah. So anyway, thinking about like how you viewed me, your perception, I was like, well, am I crazy? Well, I think it's when someone sort of, finds what they love to do, finds that sort of magic talent that they have, and then that becomes the sort of channel in which they go and make a dent in the universe. I think once people find that, that's when you have that passion and intensity, and it comes natural, and it just breathes through you, and then you appear, crazy in a sense, because you're just intense. And I know that for issues and topics and things that I like, I can be intense and aggressive, and I can come across, abrupt. My wife always tells me, hey, like, you're talking to me, like, leave your boardroom voice at home. And so, but when I'm talking about something that I enjoy, it's like, that's just, I guess I get excited about it and I want to talk about it and I want to, you know, um, just so it's natural. So I think for people, once they find that, you know, kind of thing that makes them excited, they're going to naturally be sort of intense. They should, you know, they should really, you know, be intense about it. They should be passionate about it. It's something they love because it's got to sustain you.
Well, see, and another, if I may, if we're going to share observations here, one of the big tells or giveaways that you gave to me about it is the way somebody kind of talks about that thing. Like when somebody is talking so fast or in a way that, you know, kind of their thoughts get ahead of what their mouth can keep up with. That's kind of, I see you talking that way a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know if this is borderline insult territory. You know, you can smack me in the face. But I feel like that's a very, very important indicator that somebody is really in that place. I don't know if there's a question, but I'll let you talk.
No, it's not an insult again. It's a recognition too, because I do, yeah. I mean, you know, this is one of the reasons why I don't, you know, like I am not on the public speaking circuit, because I really don't want that attention. I really don't care because of, you know, a lot of bad habits that I have in public speaking, and I don't really care to make them not bad habits and sort of perfect that. But yeah, I mean, my thoughts like get ahead of me, and that's why I'm a writer, because I sit down and I can think, and I think through things, and like when I write something down, you know, I can unload with the rough draft, and then I can, you know, go back through and work through all of that, you know, work through my thoughts. Okay, is this what I really meant to say? Is this not? I mean, that's the danger with, you know, with interview style like this or public speaking is things can come out before you want them, and so you'll find me very often thinking, should I be saying that? Should I be saying that? I mean, that's what's going on in my head. So of course that is, I guess, I don't know if that's just, you know, something on me or if it's common among people who are intense and like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I was going to book this show with somebody else, I don't know who I would do it with. So maybe it's just you. So congratulations. I don't know. So here's a question, and I think most of the conversation will play off of these kind of two directions, but is there really a line that we shouldn't cross as far as this craziness is concerned?
I think that's for the individual to decide, right? So like one of my favorite examples to talk about this sort of issue is Erica Napolitina, I believe, and she's a very intense person. She's crude. She's like a sailor. She's very sensual, you know, and she really crosses that line, and she does it, but she's comfortable in that, right? She uses profanity, and that's who she is, and she's comfortable with that. Like her conscience is okay with that. I think that's where it comes down to. Like the thing that you will cross the line is when you start becoming a jerk, right? That's where you know, that's where I think authentic sort of passion, being authentic is crossing the line. That sense is when you're a jerk and when you're harming other people and you're doing things for entertainment value at the expense of other people. That's when it's crossing the line.
Okay. So then I guess even taking away from the brashness of things, I mean, are there ideas that shouldn't be entertained? Is there a limit to what should be shared? At what speed should it be shared?
Well, I think everything. I think caution before, you know, sort of just kind of, you know, gushing and throwing things out there. Always, you know, practice caution. Like it comes back to asking the question: would your mom be okay with you saying that? You know, is your mother going to be, you know, be proud of you for having done that? And so I think that's where, yeah, you need to. So the speed thing, you know, we live in a culture, of course, where it's, you know, it's sort of like, you know, the visibility and staying within everybody's sort of, you know, on everybody's radar. It's sort of like, you know, being in a hot air balloon. Like if you don't continually giving it thing gas, you know, your visibility is going to sink. And so there's the temptation then to kind of like want to like always be doing something and always churning something out and always, you know, sort of performing and always on. And I think that eventually you get burned out or you just do something stupid. And this is why I think a lot of times you see your kind of political pundits who get crucified by saying something, because, you know, when you're always on and you're always kind of making statements and putting stuff out there, that danger then does become that, you know, you say something that you regret and you shouldn't have, and you cross the line, and then you have to go and grovel. I would rather just sort of So that's why I think it becomes a practice of kind of, thinking through and just, having buffers in place which that allow you, whether it's just like committing to a weekly blog post publishing schedule, so we just publish once a week. So so that one blog, then you're going to put a lot of thought and time and caution into creating that. It keeps you from saying something that you're going to end up regretting down the road.
We'll let you take a break a little bit. We'll break things up here, and we'll let you turn the tables on everybody at home. And it's your turn to ask the audience a fearless question, something that you've always kind of wanted to know the answer to, but we're unsure of the response. Now the opportunity, you get to do it right here. I mean, you can do it any time that you want, but I'm making you do it. So what is your fearless question to the audience?
My fearless question for them, so I guess would just be this idea of, are you comfortable in your own skin? Or are you sort of doing things to please other people? Have you chosen, to kind of go down a path or do something that's, you're going to get what people expect of you, and are you the core of that question is, are you comfortable in your own skin?
Very fascinating. And
are you comfortable?
Are you asking me?
Joey, I'm asking you.
Well, first I will say, if anybody does want to chime in, feel free, and we'll kind of sprinkle those in. I don't know if this happens on other shows, but everyone always likes to ask me a question. I don't know if I get them riled up, but I always get a question from the guests. I don't know if that's normal, but all right, I will play your game, Demian. And I would probably say, for the most part, yeah. I don't care enough. I don't know, or I care. I don't know. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, and that happened a while ago. So
is there anybody that you think about, like, I would like to be that person, or I look at them? So, and was there anybody growing up in which you sort of worshipped or idolized, and you thought, I want to be like them?
Be like them? Oh boy, that journey has changed and gone on so many different paths as far as who I wanted to be like. So if you talk to, like, middle school Joey, it was, I wanted to be like Jim Thome, baseball player. That's what I wanted to be like. I wanted to play Major League Baseball. And then it's high school Joey. It's like, I'm going to play in a band. I want to be like Flea and the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Without the crazy colored hair. And now I don't know who I'd want to be like. I don't know that I have that person anymore.
Sure.
But some combination of I think what fascinates me is people in your position and those that run in these circles of the influence that they wield, if you will, of the audiences that they kind of capture. I feel like there's a lot left on the table of what could be done. Mm-hmm. And becoming and creating something like what this show is kind of around is asking those questions and doing something a little different, is connecting the dots in a little bit more interesting way than people are maybe necessarily comfortable doing now. So basically around this whole conversation is that they're not comfortable enough to say, well, I've gotten to this point, well, what can I do if I put these 3 points together, and then what happens? Mm-hmm. I don't know if any of that made any. So that's one of those things, like, where you kind of like talking about the speed, like, so you say something that you're not quite sure that is going to be received. So
right.
Well, this dude's crazy. Get me off this call.
No. And I think we all, and I think that's a good indicator too. One of the reasons I asked the question was, it's a good indicator if you have trouble saying, well, no, there's not really anybody in my life. There are people who I admire. That's a healthy indicator that, a healthy, mature indicator that you have sort of reached that point where you are comfortable in your skin. Like you said, I really don't care, because I can't tell you how many times I say that. It's like, I just, really, I don't know if I had a tagline, that would be it. So anyway, but, for people like out there, I guess, wondering, like, so when do I know that I'm comfortable? It's that point where you reach where you're no longer, sort of striving and looking for, like, saying, like, oh my gosh, it's, the guy from Nickelback, I wish, I want his life, I don't.
Well, and I guess to your point too, if you had a tagline, that would probably mean you cared too much, because
true.
Having a tagline in and of itself is representation of caring too much, right?
This is true. Good point.
So yeah, but I think that's now that we're done psychoanalyzing each other, I think I feel like I should have been laying down for that whole segment.
There's an idea for the next show.
Indeed, it is. I do want to get to this. Charlie has a question here. talking about his background a little bit, but really his question is surrounding, we touched upon it a little bit, what does professional really mean to you?
That's a good question. Professional, I guess when I say professional, I have to think, I'm usually thinking about, so what do I do for a living, right? And so I get paid, to be a writer. I get paid to do what I love for a living. So in a sense, professional is that, the career that you have. But I guess it's, there's some connection to like, because being a professional writer means that I get paid, right? I'm paid for. I used to have a joke where I used to, work at a rock climbing gym, and they paid me like $5 an hour to work there, and I would tell people I was a professional rock climber because they paid me to do it, So naturally, just getting paid to it, it's not lost on me. That doesn't make you professional because there's some to it. But I think the professional is someone, let's elevate that definition a little bit and say like the professional is also that person who's sort of like is striving to master their discipline and become the best that they possibly can at it. That's, in my mind, a professional. What do you think?
I struggle with this one just about every day of my life because on one hand, I think you need to present yourself in a way that will make other people understand you.
Uh-huh.
But at the same point, I feel that professional is the most overblown thing that we kind of hang our hats on.
You're going. Right, uh-huh.
And me working in, when I'm not doing these things, I work in about the boringest professional industry you could think of, selling insurance for my family's agency. And, there's a certain expectation that people have with that. And,
sure.
And it's like, well, listen, I kind of take that same style to that. And it's just like being professional to me is a majority, is most of the time a waste of time, I guess I would say. As long as you're smart enough to know how to present yourself in a way that can be related to.
Right. And I guess, yeah, right. I'm not sure if Charlie, that was the sense Charlie was after, because it's obvious I didn't answer his question then. But in that
I wasn't going to say anything, Damian.
But being professional, yeah, it's behaving yourself, and I guess you have to be aware of like the industry that you're in. It just wouldn't, somebody who is sort of flouting professional standards succeed in the insurance business? Do you want someone who is sort of flighty and aggressive and selling you insurance? Would you buy insurance from that type of person? It's a question you have to ask. So I don't know. Writers have writers have a very unfortunate, because writers have a checkered past, and not much is expected out of them.
So what you're saying is the bar is set really low.
Right.
Everything else above that is just gravy. So
sandbagged it, right?
Well, talking about the different type of industries and being aware of that, George has a pretty good question here for you. He says, are there any niches or industries that you would refuse to write copy for? That would take you out of your comfort zone of writing. Now, I would push that a little bit further, because even then that question is a pretty good indication of, people want to come back and ask you about what you're most comfortable talking about, and that's writing,
Right.
So I don't want to get into too much of that, but go ahead and answer his question. We'll kind of dive
So, well, I guess just, in an industry that, for example, I would not probably, like sort of the, I don't know, you call it the wellness, homeopathic sort of, I don't want to say non-scientific. I want to be, gracious here, but that's what I mean. I just like, I don't get it. I don't buy into it. So I would never, I don't care how much they would pay me, because you would not have my passion in it. I would just be a mercenary then, and I'd be a prostitute then, and it would not make for very good copy. So, basically it boils down to like sort of, if it's something that I cannot get behind and believe in, and then it'd be a waste of my time. So it'd be a waste of their time, it'd be a waste of my time. So just any industry, any topic, any subject that I'm not interested in or don't believe in, I would avoid.
So I got to ask a little bit. I'm just going to go down this rabbit hole because I think
Sure.
we can. So the homeopathic industry, so if we have science on this end, so I guess draw that line for me. Draw that line for me.
I don't know. So I don't draw that line for you. Well, like the essential oils, like I don't even know much about it. I know I have quite a few friends. Like you have a migraine. Well, essential oils. Something goes on the back of your neck, and that's supposed to to take care of it. And so what you have is just a lot of anecdotal evidence, and I believe in the placebo effect even in the scientific community. So I think that's what's going on more than actually the essential oils of lavender is doing anything to your actual migraine. So I guess I don't know if that answers your question, but I mean, I don't have like a hard and fast rule, but I don't think that, I mean, what the FDA doesn't even approve of, or hasn't even approved of a lot of these sort of homeopathic essential oil things, but there are claims put on them that, through mostly anecdotal evidence that would just say, okay, are you guys being careful enough to say, hey, but I'm also just equally as skeptical with the scientific community, okay? So I'm a skeptical person in general, and it's not to say that I'm in some sort of neutral, morally neutral ground, and I'm on, on the higher ground looking down upon these people because I recognize I'm even skeptical of my own thoughts and views, but so you're going to ask a question.
Well, I think now we're hit. So let's talk about this. How about you're talking about these claims that are not necessarily all that fact-based, and we're talking about people understanding their craziness or knowing it or finding it or being able to show it. Maybe, so using the essential oils as our example, our poster boy, if you will, how much of this is a product of just kind of craziness repression, if you will, from all of these messages that are telling us these things that might not necessarily be true, but yet we kind of just eat them up like they're supposed to be true?
Sure, right. Repression. I'm not sure I understand your question.
I get at least one of those a show.
Okay. I think I know where you're going, but I'm not sure. I want to make sure I answer it.
All right, so basically the idea is so we're all being conditioned to just kind of accept these messages, like you said, as they're putting claims on bottles that this lavender will cure your migraine, and yet we're not questioning one way or the other. Like, okay, yeah, it might make me feel better, but is it actually doing it? Or like you said, you're very skeptical on one side on either side. It doesn't matter, and I think that's the ultimate test of listen, you're going to be able to say this thing isn't right, but this thing isn't also right either.
Right.
When you look at both sides and equally destruct them equally. I feel like there's so many mixed messages in the things that are put around us that it just prevents us from truly understanding what we might be able to be crazy about.
No, absolutely. I have to agree. The challenge is, right, I mean, it's not that, we've never had any lack of sort of information and truth, and so when you have these issues that are kind of, on both sides, yeah, and then you had advertising telling you. I think in the so in the advertising field, like I make my living, right, sort of persuading people to believe certain things about products and stuff like that, and so I would never just rest upon an anecdote, right? But they work, and we do use them in advertising. A lot of them, that's what a testimonial is. So, but you have to go deeper than that. You have to sort of, uncover whether it's, stats or research that you've done or, further evidence. And really, what it comes down to is what, it's not having, it's like what is the scale of certainty, level. Like, for some things, like I'm pretty certain the sun's going to rise every morning, right? So the scale of probability on that is like 99.99%, But now, will the Seahawks win the Super Bowl? I'm, about, I don't know, between 30 to 70%. That's just one of those, I don't know. So, but in the advertising field, I guess you have to pour on, because, it's a tough question, and like you, said that this philosophically is really what we're, this is really a philosophical question. This is like, is what do you believe, right? What do you believe? Who do you believe, right? And that's why and that's the so it's like I work in this field, but I equally see the problems in this field, because we talk about authority, build yourself up to be an authority, and as an expert, right, and a guru, and people listen to you, and you'll have greater clout than someone who doesn't. But at the same time, you can run into trouble when you think that you know everything, and you start saying and doing things that aren't really true, and people are just like blindly following you and doing that. So there's trouble there. So it's I'm want to be, and we try to teach our children to be very, think critically about who you are and what you're doing, what people are saying to you, and that be very skeptical about what people are saying and be slow to accept truth. Now, we can't naturally go through an entire life that way because it's just difficult. We make assumptions as shorthand so we can actually get things done throughout life, but for the most part, we need to think, critically about this. So you've opened up a weird bottle of worms, dude.
Yeah, I said before the show I have no idea where this is going to go. I honestly didn't. I had no idea where this thing was going to go, and
Essential oils, yeah.
at least it led up to its billing.
Yes.
So the way that I guess to kind of put a bow on this thing, the way that I look at it is that moment in the Matrix where like you see through the Matrix, so like you can like see like I feel like there are not enough people at least trying to even see the Matrix, if you will.
Yeah.
That's I guess my biggest point, and that lack of effort and interest is a little scary and depressing.
Right. No, I agree. Absolutely.
So when it comes down to the whole crazy thing, like I said, I guess my final question to you is, we've gone in quite a weird and winding path to get here, but at the end of the day, I'm of the opinion that people need to find more ways to express that craziness and to harness it. How would you tell somebody to harness their craziness to where it doesn't actually become more of a detraction?
So I guess we start with finding out who you are, and it took me. I wasn't until 25 years. I was 25 years old when I finally realized that I wanted to be a writer, and then it was probably another 4 or 5 years that I realized that I could make a living as a writer in this particular field. So it takes time, but and like if you don't know where to start, I feel like our audience probably, our audience is probably in a place that, for the most part, they know what they want. They have a pretty good idea of what they want to do if they're not doing it already. But steer your life into doing something you want to do, and that really, it's about self-expression. It's expressing yourself where you feel alive and you feel like, okay, this is the gift that I've been given, and I feel like I need to honor that gift by actually doing it and become the best that I can at that. So it really just starts about, but if you don't know that, just start experimenting with things and thinking, okay, that seems interesting, try that. If it doesn't work, drop it and find something else, find something new to do. And but if you know what you want to do, but you're in a position where you can't do that, I would just, this is like, start nudging your way that way, and that means start making those sort of small decisions that kind of, start, correcting the course of the direction of, your ship through life, and until you eventually finally get there. Now, so I'm in my position where I'm in now, like, working for Copy Blogger Media, and I have a lot of autonomy, and the sort of position that I have. And I believe a lot of that comes from the very fact that I was in a corporate world in like early April 11th. By the end of April that year of 2011, I had quit the job without any plans because I knew I was just done and I had to get out. And I had stayed in the nest way too long, and I needed to get out. I needed to try something else, and that was a difficult and dark path, and I don't recommend it for anybody. However, it helped me to sort of steer my career in a totally different direction, right? So there's really a spectrum of what you can do to find that sort of craziness in your life, because I think it comes through when you're doing something that you love. You will be naturally crazy in your own way. But so it's just that I think it spans that spectrum of like start making small decisions all the way. If you feel like you need to like wholesale social engineering, like catastrophic social engineering, and that's the only way you'll find your get out of that situation, then go that path. But it will be hard.
Well, you're always one to give a pretty good pep talk, and I love that you like to rip the Band-Aid off and leave us with the "it will be hard, you will suck," and don't come asking me for help.
You can ask me for help, but just understand that I may be brutal because it is brutal, and it's just like I don't know. So.
Well, Demian, I appreciate you taking the time. I've wasted way too much of yours, and I'll see what I can do about rectifying that. But where can people find more of you at?
So they can look on copyblogger.com, and yeah, they can look at my profile page there for all the articles that I wrote. Just search, for Demian Farnworth, and it's DemianFarnworth, or they can find me at my own blog, which is thecopybot.com, thecopybot.com, and they can find me on Twitter too at Demian Farnworth. So.
Can I call you Demon from now on? Is that okay? Can I do that?
I'll let you. You've insulted me so many other ways. Go ahead. No, I'm
Guys,
kidding. I'm kidding.
If we ever meet in person, again, I know you said you're not a fighter, but if you just like came up and just blindsided me, I would understand, and I'd say, you know what, you're right, Damian.
I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it, and I would laugh. So no worries.
All right. Well, Damian, I appreciate you taking the time. And if anybody wants to hear the fearless question Damian is most afraid to ask himself, well, that is going up into the Fearless Files library for you guys to check out. Head on over to fearlesslyquestioning.com/getfearless to opt into there if you haven't already. And Damian obviously always delivers, so please be sure to head on over there. But we will catch you guys on the next one. Damian, as always, appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir.